My brothers and sisters in Christ, today is Labor Day in the United States, and there is particular Mass formulary and prayers for this day, and yet the readings ultimately are of the normal lectionary cycle as we come into the 22nd week in Ordinary Time. Of particular, or what's particularly worthy of our attention is that we make our second big shift in the lectionary cycle of the year. Throughout the weekday lectionary cycle, we make our way in sequence through the entirety of the Gospel of Mark, Matthew, and now Luke. So now, in the 22nd of the 34 weeks of Ordinary Time, we now start our treatment of Luke, which will take us through the remainder of the liturgical year. Now, you may notice we jump straight in. We ended our previous Gospel not at the very end, nor do we start today in Luke chapter 1. We start in Luke chapter 4. And that is because what forms the contents of the beginning and end of each of the Synoptic Gospels, which are the accounts of the birth of Jesus up through his baptism, and then, of course, the events of his passion, death, and resurrection, those are treated in the privileged seasons, Advent, Christmas, Lent, and Easter. And so Ordinary Time is when we get to unpack the earthly journey and ministry of Jesus. And so it is, we pick up now as we begin in Luke. The first 3 chapters concern those other parts that we treated in Advent and Christmas. Now in Luke chapter 4, we pick up with the earthly ministry of Jesus, and we will follow it till the end in November when we get to the end of the liturgical year. And so where do we pick up? We pick up with Jesus going into the synagogue on the Sabbath day, as is his custom. So Jesus has been raised in a community. He's in a family of faith. We know the story of the Holy Family. And Jesus has lived for some 30 years of his earthly life, going about his business, known by people. And now he stands up in the synagogue and preaches the fulfillment of a prophecy. The prophet Isaiah, the words, "Today this passage is fulfilled in your hearing." And from there, what we hear in one gospel passage, as we start Luke, frames the mystery of our faith. The people hear this proclamation, and some stare in wonder as Jesus proclaims good news, freedom to captives. The favor of the Lord is announced. The good news is here. It's fulfilled. And some look with suspicion. Who is this guy? What could he know? We know who he is. Questions about his origin. Question of what he can know. And this leads ultimately to them casting him out, trying to stone him to death, but Jesus moves away. And so we see, starting from home in the very beginning, that the gospel brings about division. Those that will hear it, those that will reject it. Those that will hear it with some trepidation, some who are open to it, but struggle with it. There are different responses to the gospel. And within each one of us, we go through these phases. Hopefully not outright rejection, although maybe that's been part of our particular journey. But how we respond to it is constantly changing. Our state of life, the level of our struggle with virtue and vice, our own high points and low points in faith. But the gospel is proclaimed to us. It's proclaimed to us anew day after day, and we're left to grapple with the question of, who is this? What is this good news? What has Jesus come to tell me today? He comes with a message of joy, that all that God has promised is being fulfilled, and that freedom is coming. And so the question for you and I, brothers and sisters, today is, will we accept it? May God bless you all.